Women's Power to Heal Mother Earth. I am Maya Tiwari. At present, I'm sitting in my home in Asheville, North Carolina, stunned by a deja vu. A repeat performance of the chicanery of activities that I recently left behind in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where a major nuclear lab, neatly ensconced in the embrace of the massive Air Force Base, is mining nuclear energy production through the bodies and minds of live human people. It appears that no place in this world is exempt from the tentacular reach of this obscene business. The business of nuclear mining the human body for energy production, nuclear energy production. There is a global agreement amongst world governments via their national security agencies to use human beings as a renewable resource for the production of nuclear energy. Now, my experience in 2 cities in a row, it is happening to people whom you know and do not know, people who live next door to you, people like myself. Governments around the world have brought this nuclear plan for harvesting human energy for the production of free and renewable sources of energy, artificial rain, and the production of diamonds, and God knows what else. The reality is that all NSA satellites have been infiltrated by globalized private conglomerates with their own dehumanized agendas. The nuclear mining of human body mind criminally targets and invades the human person's lives, much like an insidious virus. This program employs an artillery of toxic chemicals and radioactive materials to control the human behavior, their mind, and their very existence. This global malaise is what I call the criminalization of humanity, which is sanctioned by governmental license. This is the most abominable outrage or violation against the humankind and human rights. Whatever an NSA and their hidden partners espouse their goals and intentions to be, the process of mining the human body for nuclear experimentation for the output of renewable energy source not only unpacks manifold layers of human rights violations and criminalize activities to achieve their agenda, but more importantly, this program is apathetically inhumane, egregiously immoral. It is an antithesis to life itself, to living, to the innate joy that the human organism has been created to experience by its universal largesse. More egregious than the grievances of colonization, this nuclear invasion of humanity is tantamount to the criminalization of our civilization. It is criminal, it is illegal, it is pathetically immoral. It is entirely devoid of the natural human gift of compassion and empathy. We're looking at the dehumanized takeover of our humanity. Make no bones about it. It is nothing less than that. We can no longer bury our heads in the sand of apathy and morbid delusions. We must awaken to our human reality and do something about it. While so many millions of men and women involved in this bizarre story are deluded or have been entirely brainwashed, the rescue of our world lies in those who wish to remain awakened to the gift of being human. Briefly, let me give you a holistic view into what actually happens to the physiological psychic organism of the human person while under the onslaught of nuclear radioactivity. Nuclear harvesting of the human body, mind, and psyche unpacks a plethora of egregious assault upon the cell, tissue, and memory and organ of the human body, mind. It depletes the organism of the natural cadence and rhythm, and robotizes the individual response and reaction, who endures manifold layers of energetic attacks and chemical assault throughout the day. The entire human population is under siege with this. Massive numbers of suicide in our population directly relates to these events. More than enduring manifold layers of physical pain and disorientation, the individual cellular memory activity begins to invade its own organism, clouding the mind with an immeasurable sense of hopelessness, despair, and darkness. The basic cosmic functioning of the body is being thwarted to act as an assault weapon against itself. Amongst the thousands of health impairments and effects this nuclear mining program causes, radiation severely impairs the DNA structure. It has a significant effect on the bone marrow that causes white blood cell deficiency, white blood cell which we need for the preservation of our immunity. In this catastrophic program called nuclear mining of the human person, an entire neighborhood or entire neighborhoods are converted into a toxic minefield. The targeted person tortured by nightly break-ins, muscular injection of smart dust, sentiency of body going to the dust really, for nuclear energy production. I first began noticing the rat race of activities in my neighborhood, first in Albuquerque and now in Asheville. Just a few blocks away from a mass military base that was in Albuquerque, which also hosts one of the largest nuclear laboratories in the U.S. That's where I first noticed the way that the community is being set up in order to harvest and mine the human energy through nuclear processes of a single individual. They would set up an entire community of workers, contractors, that include all sorts of services. It is no small task. Day after day, contractors would abound the street where the target lives. The reconstruction of the sewerage system, the water system, the electrical system, the internet system, all went into superdrive. Continuous, everyday construction on this road. Running wires interlaced with heavy metal by the electrical companies, strapped to induce connection to radioactive gamma waves via electrical lines. The rearranging of the water and sewer conduits to infiltrate radioactive substances into the drinking and bathing water, using the sewer lines to pummel in sewer gases to the home, using the water lines and other pipes to ferry in a variety of highly toxic fumes into the home, the coup de grace, collecting the feces of the targeted individual. Mining the feces of the individual is done by treating human waste containing radioactive isotopes through sewage, and the purpose of the nuclear energy production is to mine the human feces, believe it or not, into producing nuclear energy to create diamonds, I'm told. In an area where the sewage system is run by the city, a special little collecting tank to collect the feces is set up, usually in a neighbor's yard, and generally this is done along the running sewage line of the home. Sometimes one home or two homes away on the same side of the street from the targeted individual's residence. Every week, the feces box is then retrieved and transported by an unmarked van to the nuclear lab. I see this happening right here now in Asheville. I had thought that because we have no nuclear labs in North Carolina that I know of, that it was surprising to see it happening right here in the new neighborhood of Asheville, where I've just returned from Albuquerque. The neighbors who live within proximity of the targeted individual are usually coerced and bribed into a sort of confederacy that operates as one mega unit of covert activity. This is a bizarre way of bringing a community together, men and women who appear to enjoy working under the dark clout and who eagerly support these hurtful criminal activities in broad daylight and cover for the criminals during the nightly activities. Nighttime brings with it a greater plethora of horrors upon that person, as their home and being and their very body and mind becomes desanctified with the unthinkable. A different set of night owls, who generally include an assortment of characters, two neighborhood pawns that does the break-in of the home, not the usual egress to be used, but through the roof, the walls, the windows, taken out completely from their frame, very strategically done, and then reinserted poorly back. Medical professional is always on board in the night team. He inserts the psychochronic microchips into the body or injects toxic radioactive substance into the drugged sleeper's thighs or buttocks. Other members broadcast smart dust and a mixture of radioactive particles such as the radiositopes, enrichment production with uranium, thorium, radium, radon, and plutonium into the victims' food supplies, into their beddings, carpets, clothing, etc. By the way, psychotronics microchips, which they use, actually open the channels directly between the human brain and the external electronic device. And targeting the electromagnetic energy of humans using this high radiation, like gamma radiation, ionic and electronic accelerators. The home is first, of course, pummeled with sleeping gases. Once the person is drugged into slumber, the team enters and spends several hours performing their heinous, dehumanizing task within that person's home. I implore you to ponder upon the inhuman acts against life itself. The targeted individual for this nuclear mining production of human energy is given no support whatsoever, no compassion of any kind. It is set up in such a way that part of the organized campaign is to deliberately make them appear delusional, paranoid, a pariah in their community. Howbeit, with all of our knowledge and all of our awareness and all of our combined consciousness, we allow this to happen. We see our neighbors, we see our friends. There is no less than 1 billion people in our world enduring this travesty, this malaise, this unthinkable abomination. So I appeal to you. We must do something about it. We must raise our awareness of this nuclear program that harvests and mines the human body and mind. We must try to protect those who are targeted in our community and in our midst for the purpose of nuclear energy production. Endless, countless numbers of diseases that come from it that we do not even know is attributed to this very program. I call on you. This is an intense podcast. It is not a desperate one. But I plan to continue to bring awareness to this heinous program as long as I have a life force within me and beyond. and I ask you for your help. I ask you to start exploring this area and to not be afraid of it. I ask you to bring light around it to help our world in this new and devastating meteoric journey, which I call the criminalization of humanity through this nuclear mining program of human energy for nuclear production that is sanctioned by almost every government in this world through their NSA, their national security agencies, and their undeclared partners. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And may peace be your journey.